As we welcome you back to Landover, that's all that you need to know about where these two teams are in their respective divisions. New England at the very top in the AFC East, Washington at the very bottom of the NFC East. Jay Gruden, the head coach for Washington, and of course Bill Belichick for New England. It is a 69-degree, partly cloudy day, but a very nice day overall here in Landover, Maryland. The toss won by Washington. And as you mentioned, Trent, we've seen for the second straight week, the team that wins the toss elects to receive, and that's unusual in this day and age.
Yeah, most of the time teams are deferring so they can get the double dip, try and score at the end of the half and get the ball coming out first in the second half. You can tell Jay Gruden right now, he wants to get Colt McCoy on the field and get this offense going early.
There is Colt McCoy. Steven Sims is deep, and we're underway. This will not be returnable. The touchback will start Washington at its own 25-yard line, and that brings on Colt McCoy. And having talked with him the other day, Trent, you know, he just wants to get out there and just get started and get it going.
Well, and he hasn't played a lot of football. Melanie touched on that in the open because of the problems that he had with his injury and the number of surgeries that he had to have. He only had 4 practices leading up to this start. So I think as much as anything, the mental part of having the confidence of stepping into a throw and having bodies fall around your leg, that's going to be a big hurdle for him. And I think that's why Jay Gruden wanted the ball quickly to try and get him into a rhythm fast.
And right off the bat, a little bit of a delay and a timeout. New England has called a timeout.
Timeout. New England, their first. 30 seconds.
I would hope it's their first. There's still a full 15 minutes left on the clock here in the first quarter.
Well, maybe they had 12 guys on the field, or that's a bit unusual.
Yeah. You were talking about getting Colt McCoy into a rhythm. There are a couple of people who need to get into a rhythm. Adrian Peterson is another.
And that's going to be, first off, you have to understand New England's the #1 defense in the league. They're #2 against the run, #2 against the pass, #1 overall, #1 scoring defense. So it's not an easy task, but you do have to get Adrian Peterson going, get the run game going, control the clock.
Play fake to him. McCoy going to throw. Sideline pass is complete across the 35 to about the 37-yard line to the rookie Terry McLaurin. His participation in doubt today throughout the week with a hamstring injury, but makes a nice cut and dive for the football.
Well, how about Colt McCoy? You come out the very first play action pass. Guess what? I'm going after the best corner in the NFL and first-team All-Pro Stephon Gilmore, and he's going to throw it to the rookie McLaurin, who comes back and makes an excellent catch.
Here's Adrian Peterson. Maybe 2 yards, close to the 40-yard line. Up front for Washington, right guard Brandon Sheriff out with an ankle injury today. Wes Martin starts there. And they're missing 2 terrific tight ends in Jordan Reed and Vernon Davis, both out with concussions, but they do have, as we mentioned, one of the great running backs of all time in Adrian Peterson in the backfield. They spread the field now with 5 receivers. McCoy alone in the backfield, and now Chris Thompson joins him there.
Yeah, Chris Thompson came in for Adrian Peterson. He's their receiving specialist coming out of the backfield. This time they're giving him the ball.
Trying to turn the corner. Pursuit's going to grab him and bring him down from behind at about the original line of scrimmage. That was Dante Hightower.
This linebacking core has shown great pursuit throughout the entire season. You see Hightower get through into the backfield and is able to chase Thompson down from behind as he's deciding where to go. Talking with Devin McCourty last night, he just said the communication with the linebackers and what they've got going on defense, the trust they have in one another, is the reason why they've been able to play at the speed that you just saw on that play.
3rd and 9. McCoy can't get out of trouble and goes down at the 30-yard line. Chase Winovich, the rookie out of Wisconsin, with his 4th sack of the season.
Winovich comes from the outside, and you see the twist, gets to the inside, coming off the right side. Colt McCoy has nowhere to go. The New England Patriots are #1 defense on 3rd down. They get teams off the field. You get them in 3rd and long. That sets up perfectly for the way they want to bring pass pressure.
This is Gunnar Olszewski with the fair catch made at about the 16-yard line, and that will bring number 12 onto the field. As familiar a face as there is in New England.
Let's go!
Little historical look at Tom Brady, and again, it's in such sharp contrast to the numbers he put up a week ago at Buffalo against, as you said, Trent, a very good defense. He was 18 of 39, 150 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. Sony Michel, the running back, flanked outside as a receiver, and Brady with the quick pass. That is complete incomplete. Matt Lacoste, one of the tight ends, dropped that one. The offensive line has the veterans at tackle. Newhouse in his 10th year on the left side, Cannon in his 9th on the right, and Brady and the Pats could use some more production from the tight end position, but reliable Julian Edelman leads the team in receptions. Brady, quick pass, and this is Michel out of the backfield. Michel across the 25 before he's pushed back. He'll be marked down at the 26-yard line. Washington's three-man front on defense has Matt Ioannidis, who's forced 2 fumbles, recovered 1, and has a sack. They're waiting for number 191, Ryan Kerrigan, to bust out at linebacker, and in the secondary, cornerback Quentin Dunbar, team leading 2 picks. That quick pass to Josh Gordon, his first catch of the day. And it'll be second down and about 6 or so.
Well, it's going to be hard for the Redskins to get pressure on Brady when he gets the ball out of his hands as quickly as he is. 3 plays, 3 passes, all of them out of his hands in a couple of seconds.
Running out of time, ducks 1 defender and got rid of it. Incomplete.
Well, and there's Matt Ioannidis that we talked about. He has to put pressure, get Brady to move off of his spot. When he doesn't get the quick throw, which he had in the first 3 snaps of the game, as he's working through his progression, it's the job of that front 4 to be able to get pressure. Brady falling away on that throw, just kind of trying to get rid of it, bringing up a long 3rd down.
Washington's 3rd down defense, the worst in the NFL. Opponents are converting 63% on 3rd down. James White in the backfield with Brady. 3rd and 6. Brady under pressure, throws. That's complete to the sideline, and that is enough for a first down to James White.
James White is a tremendous receiver, lining up in the backfield. As you see the pocket, they only rush 3, dropping 8 into coverage. White just on your typical 10-yard out route. 1-on-1 to the outside.
So first down, New England now at their own 38. And Brady to throw again. Stepping up, going deep down the middle of the field, and just overthrew Josh Gordon.
Well, you know Tom's going to be mad about this one. Gordon coming from his left, down the middle of the field, wide open. Overthrows it by a couple yards.
Did you think what I thought less than 24 hours ago? We're talking with Tom about how much air under the ball, how little, how too much.
Well, he brought up that, he and I had a little bit of side conversation about the difference between completion percentage and accuracy. And even though your completion percentage may be high, you may not be happy with the way you threw the football or the location that you put the football.
Brady on the run, throws to the sideline, and it's incomplete, intended for Jakob Johnson. All 7 offensive plays run by the Patriots have been pass plays.
Well, and right now, Brady's only 3 of 7. Obviously, 2 of those coming in key situations, getting the 3rd down conversion last time.
Josh McDaniels, offensive coordinator. See what he dials up here on 3rd and 10. James White and Brandon Bolden flanking Brady in the backfield. Got time, running out of time, going down. Ioannidis and Ryan Kerrigan.
I want you to keep your eye right here. Watch as the ball snapped, and as the rotation of the coverage, he's going to drop down. It's going to be a robber coverage. The safety drops in Brady's trying to get rid of the ball quickly. You see how the safety creeps into the middle of the field? So that's where he's trying to throw. He's looking in the middle of the field to Edelman because it starts off looking like a cover 2 safety where there will be a hole in the middle of the field. But because of that drop safety, the robber takes away the quick throw for Brady, and then the pressure gets there.
Ball sails out of bounds. Trey Quinn did not have a chance to return it. And Washington's going to get some pretty good field position out of this when we come back to Landover, Maryland.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Sprint. Switch today. Farmers Insurance. Find an agent at farmers.com. And by Honda. Great deals are waiting at your Honda dealer.
That, of course, is the Washington Monument, a landmark rising from the National Mall that honors the nation's first president. Plans for the Washington Monument began before George Washington ever took office.
Hey, we're good. Come on over. Go side.
Washington from its own 33. Peterson. And Peterson stacked up at about the 35, so it'll be a pickup of 2. The New England Patriots on defense. Lawrence Guy, Danny Shelton, Michael Bennett up front. At linebacker, Jamie Collins having a great start to the season. 3.5 sacks, 3 interceptions. And in a secondary that is not allowed a touchdown pass this season, there sits Devin McCourty with the league leading 4.
We're good. Here goes high. 180.
Second and 8, the give coming around this side is Steven Sims, and Sims still on the loose and down the sideline. Steven Sims going to go all the way to the end zone. No flags.
Well, that's the burst of energy that the Washington Redskins needed. They had no existence of a running game so far this season or in this game. Getting the quick handoff on the sweep around to the outside. Incredible burst of speed. Normally a very sure tackling defense with the New England Patriots. That time, missing 2 tackles, and Sims takes it to the house.
65 yards as the New England Patriots fall behind for the first time all season. Dustin Hopkins is a perfect 6 for 6 in extra point attempts this season. Make it 7 for 7. Just under 9.5 minutes to play in the first quarter, and Steven Sims, rookie free agent out of Kansas, makes his mark early. Before that last play, Washington's longest run of the year was 14 yards. Sims just pulled off a 65-yarder to give his team a 7-0 lead.
Well, 65 yards, considering coming into today, they averaged 50 a game. So that was a much-needed run for the Redskins to get things kicked off here.
Brandon Bolden will not be able to return that one, and they'll start from the 25-yard line. A lot of good downfield blocking contributing to that missed tackling.
Well, here's Steven Sims. He's going to be lined up in the slot, but it's the block of center Tony Bergstrom as he gets out in space. Watch Bergstrom as he pulls around to the outside, gets that initial block, kicks it to the outside, allows Sim to set up. Now, of course, it's poor tackling. From that point on, there's 4 or 5 Patriots defenders that are in position to make the tackle, and they all pull up thinking Sims is either going to be tackled or go out of bounds, and instead, he takes it to the house.
This is Sony Michel, and Sony Michel can't find any room to run anywhere. We get word from the New England sideline that wide receiver Philip Dorsett questionable for a return with a hamstring. That is the first running play of the day for New England. Brady lofts this one down the sideline. Nice turnaround and grab by the tight end Ryan Izzo.
Izzo's going to be lined up on the wing to Brady's right. He just does an out and up and catches them in a zone with the vertical release of the inside tight end, keeping Josh Norman to the inside. It left a window to the sideline.
Brady over the middle, got his man inside the 30. This is Lacoste inside the 25 and another first down.
Well, with the retirement of Rob Gronkowski, a big weapon for Tom Brady over the years, and the use of the tight end in this offense has always been something, especially in recent years, that they've been able to use. They haven't had much production out of the tight end position, but back-to-back plays now putting them in scoring position.
Brady on first down, getting all kinds of time and throws complete underneath. This is Michel, and Michel inside the 10 to the 9, and it looks like another first down. So what's the philosophy behind the hurry up to the line and running one play after another after another?
You know, there's different tempos that you try, that you want to change things up from week to week, or that's what traditionally the New England Patriots have done, and they don't want the defense of the Redskins to get in any kind of rhythm.
This is Sony Michel, who makes it to about the 7, maybe the 6-yard line, brought down by Landon Collins.
Plus, as you can see right now, the Skins are trading personnel. A lot of times Brady will recognize that, especially when they're down towards either end zones where the player has to run a longer way. He'll get up to the line of scrimmage, try and get a quick snap to get too many men on the field.
On second and goal, touchdown over the middle to Julian Edelman. Quick answer by the Patriots.
Well, and quick answer is because, like you said, Greg, they go to a no huddle. They keep the tempo going. Edelman is lined up in the slot. The tight end clears out the middle. They catch Washington in a zone. Easy short throw, pitch and catch, touchdown.
And here is the newly signed Mike Nugent, signed on Thursday to replace Steven Gostkowski, who has gone on the injured list. And Nugent's first kick as a Patriot sails wide to the right. So Edelman with the touchdown. The Patriots can't add the extra point.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by Modelo, a taste that's pure gold, brewed for those with a fighting spirit.
The NFL celebrating season number 100. A look at one of the more memorable teams in recent history. The 2007 Patriots, led by Tom Brady, Randy Moss, finished the regular season undefeated, 16-0, the only team in NFL history to finish a regular season at 16-0. Steven Sims will let this one bounce through the end zone for the touchback, and Washington will come out to the 25-yard line. Meanwhile, newly signed Mike Nugent, longtime NFL veteran. Looks like he just flat out missed it, Trent.
Well, and we talked to Bill Belichick last night about that. I said, you've been very fortunate over the last 20 years. You have Adam Vinatieri and Gostkowski, and you have two of the best kickers over that 20-year span, really in NFL history. And see, Shane Graham had a year in there in 2010. But I said, what kind of confidence will you have? He said, we signed him, and we signed the guy. We believe in the guy, and he's going to do his job. And he didn't execute on that extra point.
180!
McCoy can't run out of trouble and goes down courtesy of Danny Shelton. Loss of 7 on the play makes it 2nd and 17.
Kyle Van Noy, 53, comes off the edge, and he's the one that causes Colt McCoy to step up in the pocket and allows Shelton to get that interception. And just that little bit of slide up in the pocket, McCoy takes his eyes off up the field, has to slide and try and find a place to escape. And by taking your eyes away from upfield, you don't know where those receivers are or where your outlet's going to be.
On 2nd and 17, McCoy pulls it down, and then this has to throw it away to the near sideline. Close by was Trey Quinn, but the incompletion makes it 3rd and 17.
Greg, you could see at the top of his drop, you could almost see the pump fake that Colt McCoy. That's because when you don't practice, Colt McCoy hasn't had very many practices, just 4 leading up. See the pump right there? He thought Quinn was going to take the route a different way. It's a choice route for Trey Quinn. Trey Quinn went up, read the zone, and sat down. You could see McCoy with the way that pump fake worked. He thought Quinn was going to take it to the inside, so he had to reload. By that time, the pockets collapsed.
Washington has not converted a third down this season of 10 or more yards. Looking at 3rd and 17, under pressure, a little screen, falls incomplete. Jamie Collins applying the pressure.
I know we've already brought this up, but the Patriots #1 on 3rd down, allowing less than 14% conversion on 3rd down. You're trying to set up the screen. It's a long down and distance. Yes, Thompson could have had that, but Hightower was right there to make the tackle, even if he does catch it.
Gunnar Olszewski is deep for the kick from Tress Way. Fair catch called for, and then he's out of bounds, just short of the 45-yard line. 6:11 to play. We're back in 30 seconds after this from Lowe's. 6:11 to play, first quarter. We'll see if the tempo changes much for these New England Patriots on this possession. First down at the 43-yard line. And Brady to throw. Under pressure and going down again. Jonathan Allen with the sack.
It looks like Brady has a chance to get the ball out quick on a short throw, but he's trying to hang in there and push the ball up the field. That allows Allen to make the sack.
Loss of 10, 2nd and 20. Deeper drop this time. Brady throwing over the middle and wide open over midfield. Josh Gordon, and Gordon is ridden out of bounds at about the 43-yard line.
The Redskins play a high percentage of zone, and this is why Tom Brady is trying to wait to push the ball up the field, allow his receivers to get in those lanes, those gaps within the zone. That time, Gordon is able to do it, and the protection holds up so he can push it up the field.
Boy, that's a serious stiff arm thrown by Josh Gordon. Needed 20, they got 24, first down. Brady to the air again, over the middle, again, complete to Edelman. Edelman still on the move and tracked down from behind at the 31-yard line by John Bostic.
Patriots only releasing 2 receivers into the route, Gordon and Edelman. Edelman comes underneath. Gordon goes over the top, trying to just find a gap to sit in the zone once again. They're in man-to-man, but there's trailing technique. So you have linebackers underneath that bite up on the fake, allows the big window in the middle of the field.
This short one is complete to Johnson out of the backfield. And it's update time. Let's take you to the NFL Today in New York. JB and Boomer.
You asked to see this, Boomer.
Right, Mason Rudolph throwing the ball over 5 yards. This time to Juju Smith-Schuster, 35-yard touchdown pass. Ravens still lead 10-7. And Greg, you haven't seen a stiff arm until you've seen Phil at the buffet lunch here. Back to you.
You know, it may be a week, it may be 2 weeks, but Phil will get back at him for that. 2nd and 5. Play fake. Brady going to throw it down the sideline to the end zone and overthrew his intended receiver Ryan Izzo, and there's a flag.
Oh, they're going to call offensive pass interference. Or it looks like that's what the initial call is going to be. Collins is running with Izzo up the numbers.
Extended conversation as you take a look. And here's Clay Martin.
Pass interference. Offense, number 85. 10-yard penalty at the previous spot. Replay the down.
So the offensive pass interference is on Ryan Izzo, and Well, you mentioned it. It can't be mentioned enough, Trent, how the tight end position has suddenly become a very crucial position on this New England team.
Well, they're calling with the push-off right there to get extension, and you could say, well, do you challenge it or not? What we've seen in the pass interference challenges, unless it's very obvious or egregious is the word that likes to be thrown around, it's not going to get overturned, so that's smart not to challenge that.
Brady to Edelman, and Edelman hit almost immediately on the play by Landon Collins. So it'll be third down.
We touched on the fact in the open that Brady doesn't have a receiver this year that has over 100 yards. Right now he's thrown to 7 different receivers, but 5 of the 7 have over 20 yards receiving and under 30 yards. So he's doing a great job of spreading the ball around.
Edelman jumped in the slot, and Washington players quick to point it out.
False start. Offense. Number 11. 5-yard penalty. Third down.
So that'll move the line of scrimmage back to just outside the 30-yard line. Edelman, meanwhile, 3 catches today. That's 3 or more receptions in 29 straight games for the veteran wide receiver. 3rd and 9. Brady stepping up, throwing over the middle, got his man. That is complete, close to the 20-yard line, and right at the first down marker is Josh Gordon. Let's see where they spot it.
It is all going to depend on the spot, and if it's close, I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, they're going to stop it to get a measurement. That's a situation where a lot of times where Brady will see that it's close. He'll get everybody on the line right away, and they run the quarterback sneak.
And it is enough for the first down.
Yeah, I think if you're Jay Gruden, you challenge this spot. It looks like the ball comes down at the 22-yard line when he's tackled, not the 21-yard line. And after that measurement, that would leave it a good 2 or 3 feet. Well, not 3 feet, because then it would be a yard. I don't think it's I think it's less than a yard. So I think now watch where the ball comes down. He gets twisted around. He gets slammed down, his elbow's down, the ball comes down. It's at the 22. They've got the ball marked at the 21.
And the challenge flag is out.
Unless they're calling it forward progress from where they twisted him, but it's clear to where he gets slammed to the ground. That's
Washington
at the 22.
is challenging the ruling on the previous play of the spot that resulted in a first down. Timeout.
So they'll take a look. We'll take a break. 2:28 to play in the first quarter. 7-6 Washington.
But it's bad mechanic by them, Trent. Yeah.
Welcome back, and Clay Martin is back on the field, and now they're just making sure of the spot. Gene Steratore, our rules guru, is with us. What did you see, Gene?
As I've reviewed the play, Greg, as Josh Gordon is spinning, being tackled, his left shin hits the ground. At that time, the football actually, I don't think it does even get to the 22. So it's on the backside of the 22-yard line. As we watch here, he's getting
After
spun,
review,
no
the runner was
progress.
down by contact, short of the line to gain. It'll be 4th down. Washington has not charged a timeout and still has 2 challenges remaining.
So, Gene, you are right. Then the spot was a good yard off, which brings up a 4th down situation, and the New England offense is still on the field.
Thanks for clearing that up, Gene. That's, it's just hard to determine the forward progress and when the official spots it if it can be overturned. But the fact that, as Gene pointed out, the shin went down and that's where the ball was.
Is Gene ever wrong? I don't think he is. I don't think he is.
Hey, here's the interesting thing. 4th
7
down.
seconds, 2:47.
4th down, they've kept the offense on the field. We've talked about many times they'll do a Brady quarterback sneaker. You have to remember, new kicker Mike Nugent just missed an extra point. Maybe this would be a situation you'd typically try the field goal because you're a point behind. You'd try to get the field goal and get the 2-point lead. Instead, Patriots leaving the offense on the field.
First 4th down attempt of the year for the Patriots. James White in the backfield. The direct snap to White, and he doesn't get it. How about that one with Brady looking to the sideline and the direct snap to James White? And Washington was not fooled.
Great job by the Washington defense, recognizing that when Brady moved out, he started making a call. Watch as he goes to his right. Now he comes back to left, starts walking away to make a signal to Gordon. The ball's direct snap to James White. The defense is prepared for it. Holcomb comes up, makes the initial contact, and Collins finishes him off, keeping him from the first down.
And you know, Trent, that's a perfect example of why you challenge a call, and it looks like, well, okay, so they'll get it on 4th and 1, but they don't.
That's exactly right. You never take for granted the fact that they're going to make the call, and Redskins, excellent job getting the stop on 4th down.
This is Peterson. Peterson with running room up the middle and dragged down as he crosses the 30 to about the 31-yard line. Lawrence Guy making the tackle. We talked in the open, Trent, about Washington needing a spark. They're energized so far.
Well, the spark came on the long touchdown run by Sims, the 65-yarder with the missed tackles and his speed taking it down the sideline. Then the defense responding, getting a big stop on 4th down. They just keep hanging around.
Peterson again, this time stacked up with very little beyond the 31-yard line.
Well, and I use the term hanging around because we were at Redskins Park and talking with the team, talking with the coaches and the players. They said, listen, this season hasn't started the way we want it. We're only 4 games into it. We've got 12 games to go. We get paid for 16 games. We don't get paid just for 4. So the attitude was really good around Redskin Park. The coaching staff, the players all felt positive. Listen, they've had an uphill battle. They know the quarterback position and what's going on there, the injuries on the offensive line. They weren't making excuses. They were getting ready for today.
Here's a 3rd and 2 for McCoy. He'll throw for it. Quick pop, complete. Out to the 35-yard line to Trey Quinn, and a 1st down.
And keeping it short down in distances on 3rd down. Keeping it at a manageable 3rd down. It all started with the 1st down run of Adrian Peterson where he gets 5 yards. The previous drives, he only got 2 yards on those 1st down runs. So then all of a sudden you get an incompletion on 2nd down. You're stuck at 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9. By getting that good start on the opening play, it makes it into a more manageable situation moving forward.
Wendell Smallwood is in the game. The play fake to him. McCoy on the move, going to tuck it and run. 40, 45 and out of bounds. Very close to another 1st down. Might be just a smidge short.
That was the most perfectly timed rush by Van Noy. I thought 53 Van Noy was offsides or had jumped the gun a little bit on the snap, but because he was so far upfield, it gave McCoy the ability to break, contain, and get up the sideline, getting it to 2nd and short.
And they're not going to get another playoff as time winds down here in the 1st quarter. A missed extra point is the only difference on the scoreboard. Washington leads at 7-6 after 1. We're back for the start of the 2nd quarter after this. You don't normally see numbers like these. New England with 1 rushing yard in the 1st quarter. Washington with 1 passing yard in the 1st.
In today's NFL, 1 passing yard after a quarter is not the norm. That's for sure. But when you get a 65-yard touchdown run to balance things out.
2nd and 1. Smallwood in the backfield behind McCoy. Smallwood looking for the 1st down. Won't get there. In fact, he will lose about a yard. Dante Hightower. So it'll be 3rd and 2. On 3rd down percentage, New England the best in the NFL. Washington the worst.
Well, Washington just sent in Trey Quinn. That's who they threw to last time on 3rd down. He was able to find a zone over the middle of the field.
play fake. McCoy rolling, under pressure, goes down. Hightower.
Trying to get the bootleg. Quinn is the one that goes in motion. He comes across and he's going to sneak out into the flat, but watch the backside tight end. If McCoy has enough time, the backside tight end, that's where Hightower comes off. See that second zone behind the line? The linebackers all jump Quinn underneath. It was that second window. He just didn't have time to do it.
Olszewski awaits the kick. Booming kick. Olszewski lets it bounce into the end zone for the touchback. 13 and a half minutes to be played here in the first half. We're back in half a minute after this from Farmers Insurance. 13:30 on the clock. And New England at their own 20-yard line. And not in a big hurry right now. We look at Tom Brady's last 10 passing attempts. He's got 154 yards, ties for his second best first quarter ever. He only threw for 150 last week. Sony Michel. And coming up from the secondary, Josh Norman to make the tackle. We get on to Melanie.
Well, Greg, this Redskins defense was pumped up after a huge fourth down stop on that last Patriots drive. I've been standing down here behind the bench, and the consensus is they want to keep Tom Brady under duress. They said he's just sitting back there in the pocket when he's not getting the ball out quickly. They've been doing a good job so far.
Thank you, Melanie. That's Michelle again. That was the consensus opinion coming off of the win at Buffalo, that the Bills defense did a great job of pressuring Brady.
Well, and moving him off the spot, that's been the, well, it is with any quarterback, but certain quarterbacks like being in the pocket more than others. Certain quarterbacks can extend plays and use their feet, like we saw Russell Wilson do on Thursday night. Some of the plays that he made with his feet to extend plays. Brady likes sitting in the pocket, going through his progressions, making accurate throws, and not being moved off that spot.
3rd and 3. Brady throwing, that is complete and hit almost immediately after making the catch is James White.
And by the way, he's the best to ever do it. That's why he likes it. His accuracy, his ability in the pocket to be able to dissect what the defense is doing, get the ball out of his hands quickly. And as you can see, they're coming to the line of scrimmage. So we talked about tempo and what the offense, the rhythm they want to get into. That also slows down the defense and what they can coordinate from a pressure standpoint.
Little short pass to White. Gets a few before Jonathan Allen brings it to a stop, and no sign of a huddle on the New England side of the ball. Another play fake, Brady stepping up, looked deep, pulled it down, now going to go down the sideline. Incomplete. And now a late flag is thrown. Edelman, the intended receiver, covered by Monte Nicholson.
Edelman works across the field. Gordon's going over the top, and when he realizes that Brady doesn't throw the ball, he wheels to the outside. There is some incidental, the flag is thrown, so they're calling probably defensive pass interference based on the way that's
Pass
set.
interference. Defense, number 35. The ball will be placed at the spot of the foul, automatic. First down.
I guess it's where you're drawing the line on incidental, huh, Trent?
Well, not a lot of, there is contact there, and you can see it knocks him off his feet. So yeah, that's got to be pass interference. You can hear the crowd's disappointed about it, but after looking at that replay at that angle, that's pass interference, the collision that happened. I can tell you, after this series, when they get to the sideline, Brady's going to have a talk with Josh Gordon because he wanted to take the shot down the middle of the field like he had earlier in the game that he missed. It's just that Josh Gordon wasn't running with the same intensity that he wanted.
So now there's a timeout on the field as Washington, well, Clay Martin will tell it. They've thrown the challenge flag. Jake Gruden wants to take a look.
There's no foul on the play. However, Washington is challenging the ruling on the previous play of pass interference. Timeout.
Well, based on what we saw, there's nothing clear and obvious that's going to turn that around.
That's what they will look at. Welcome back. We welcome Gene Steratore back. Gene, Trent's on record as saying this is a good call, and you say?
I agree with him, and there are two veterans here making veteran plays. Edelman sees that Nicholson is closing in kind of a cutoff fashion as a D-back, not looking back to play the ball yet. Edelman kind of veers back in toward Nicholson going to receive the ball,
After review, the
which
ruling
creates
on the field
that contact.
Is called. Washington will be charged a timeout and has no challenges remaining.
Clay Martin says that what you guys say is that the call stands.
And with what's trending in the NFL too, when we have a foul called on the field and the contact is maybe not significant, they really are not going to change these and pull that play up if there's contact there. I think it's a good pass interference on live action and a good job by replay to reaffirm that.
All right, Gene, thank you.
Well, and Gene makes a great point. Based on the way they've been calling it or not calling it over the first month of the season, there wasn't enough there to get that turn.
So first down, and Brady to the air. Lots of time, over the middle. Incomplete at the 10-yard line, intended for Edelman. Covering on the play, Fabian Moreau. It'll be 2nd and 10.
Edelman's had some drops here the last couple weeks, and it's very uncharacteristic of him. Usually he tries to attack the ball with his hands. You see how he turned his hands upside down and tried cradling it in, as opposed to turning his hands the other direction and getting the ball first, as opposed to letting it. See how it drops into his hands as opposed to turning it? A lot of times he'll turn those hands and snatch it out of the air as opposed to cradling it the way it happened on that one and not securing the football.
So that's Moreau, who was the defensive player involved there. Went to a knee on the field and now to the sideline. On 2nd and 10. Two fakes and the pass incomplete, tipped at the line of scrimmage. Looked like Ryan Kerrigan got a hand on it. It'll be 3rd and 10.
Yeah, Kerrigan saw all the misdirection going on, and he kept waiting. He's been around and seen enough tape to realize they were going to set something up, and he had a chance. You can see he throws his hands on his helmet. Had a chance to get a game-changing interception right there.
3rd and 10.
Keep an eye on the bottom of the screen. White on Bostic.
Quick slant is complete just inside the 20-yard line. And that's James White with the reception. And 4th down, and onto the field now comes Mike Nugent.
Well, the difference is this is 4th and 2, 4th and 2.5, as opposed to less than a yard on the previous one.
So this will be a 37-yard attempt. And this one is good. Big sigh of relief all up and down the New England sideline. He missed the extra point. He converts the 37-yard field goal, and New England goes on top with 10:35 to play in the first half.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Pepsi. Always be celebrating. Amazon Prime. One-day delivery on millions of items with Prime. And by State Farm. Talk to an agent today at 800-STATE-FARM.
Trent, you're going to love it. In Derby, we trust. That's the motto of DC Roller Girls, amateur flat track competitive roller derby league founded in 2006.
Throwing elbows.
Yeah. Mike Nugent, a little pressure off after the missed extra point attempt, nailed a 37-yard field goal. 9-7 Patriots, and Steven Sims will not run this one back. and it'll come out to the 25-yard line. FIT, F-I-T-T, Washington's Youth Health and Wellness Initiative encourages healthy lifestyles and assists 7th grade students in the development of their fitness plans. This past Tuesday, there was a FIT community event at Greenbelt Middle School where kids took part in a wide assortment of physical activities. So, Trent, you and I were talking during the timeout, and other than that 65-yard jaunt down the sideline by Steven Sims, there's really not much else that Washington has to show so far today.
Well, there hasn't been a lot of consistency on offense other than that big play. Colt McCoy 2 for 4, just 16 yards, and Adrian Peterson 4 carries for 12 yards.
This is Sims, and this time Sims goes nowhere.
Where they've had their success in this series is when they've been productive on first down. This time trying a little bit of a misdirection, the quick little shuffle pass or the jet sweep, a lot of people like to call it. It's gets stuck behind the line of scrimmage. Good job by Hightower staying home.
Hightower has been all over the field on defense for the Patriots today. New England has had the ball majority of the time. 2nd and 14.
Hey, Peter, 5'8", Peter, 5'8", Peter. No, go 32. 32. 180.
McCoy to Sims outside. And run out of bounds for a pickup of about 5, and it'll be 3rd and 9. You know, we've talked about the injuries that happen to every team, but this Washington offense has been hit hard at the tight end position. They really miss 2 extremely good football players in Jordan Reed and Vernon Davis.
That's been a big part of this offense, and the fact that both are injured, both are in concussion protocol, makes it more difficult. Look for Chris Thompson, the running back, to get more involved in the passing game.
McCoy on the move. Going to run for it, bounce out of bounds, and a flag is thrown. Dante Hightower ran him out.
Looks like it's going to be holding on the Redskins. That's where the flag's thrown back in the pocket. Colt McCoy very fortunate that this ball doesn't turn over to the Patriots, and he just drops it as he's beginning to tuck it away. Hits his right thigh. And
The on-field ruling is that the ball was fumbled forward and out of bounds. It's been brought to that spot. Holding offense number 66. That penalty is declined. It's 4th down.
So the penalty is on Tony Bergstrom, and Washington will be forced to kick it away.
Well, I was wrong. I thought usually when you go to tuck it away, it's that right thigh board that comes up and hits it, but you could see McCoy as he was just turning the ball to tuck it away, just slipped out.
Worth repeating, Colt McCoy is playing a football game for the first time in a long time without very much practice.
We'll start it at the 25-yard line. That's where the ball will be put. It's 4th down.
So they'll readjust the line of scrimmage. Tressway, who got off a 62-yard punt his last time.
Well, and just what Colt McCoy's had to do to get back out on the field. Melanie touched on it in the open, the fact that he had to have 3 surgeries. They had to re-break the injury because it wasn't healing correctly. He hasn't had much practice time, but he knows this offense better than the other quarterback, so he gives them the best chance.
Olszewski with about a 10 or 11-yard return, and he's brought to a halt. Colt McCoy will talk about it while Brady and company return to the field. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report, JB, Phil, Nate, Boomer, Coach Cowher, scores and highlights, all coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. Coming up on 8.5 to play here in the first half. First down, New England, with the ball in a 2-point lead. Brady, far sideline. It is caught by Edelman. Did he get the feet down? He did, says the official.
Well, he had the drop earlier, and the fact that he's always been a very sure-handed receiver. This time he gets the ball, secures it, 1 foot down, drags the second toe.
12-yard pickup. Brady looking both ways and goes down again. This time it's Tim Settle, second-year D lineman out of Virginia Tech. 3rd sack of Brady today.
Marcus Cannon, the right tackle, just gets shoved backward, just a bull rush, and runs right through him. As Brady's trying to step in and throw to his right, Cannon gets dumped in his lap.
So it's a 2nd and 22. Brady batted down, incomplete. Intended for Josh Gordon. And Quinton Dunbar was covering. It'll be 3rd and 17.
Great play design by the Patriots. Impressive play, knocking it away by Dunbar. But the Redskins came down with a secondary, with a coverage where they dropped that robber in, like we showed earlier in the game. They dropped the robber in on Edelman. Edelman broke it to the outside, so that pulled that robber out of the middle field, which left it open for Gordon to the inside, and Dunbar just with an excellent play.
On 3rd down, Brady throwing, Edelman on the catch, looking for first down yardage and is not going to get there. So it'll be 4th down, and the offense is going to stay on the field.
Out on the field. Edelman got it close enough, gets near the sideline, doesn't run out of bounds, picks up another 2-3 yards.
No, and there's been a change of heart. And now the punting unit comes on.
Well, the rule is that official's going to stand there and give the defense time to match personnel.
Jake Bailey, the rookie punter out of Stanford. And whistles. And the flag.
False start. Offense, number 49. 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
Number 49 is the long snapper, Joe Cardona.
Going back to the 3rd and long as Edelman is trying to work his way up the field. Watch as he extends the ball. His knee's down, so that's why I don't give him where the ball spotted, but excellent job by Bostic and the defense not allowing him to get there.
This is Trey Quinn. A fair catch called for and made at about the 12-yard line. 6:18 to play in the first half. Washington had a pretty dominant run in the 80s and early 90s. They won 3 Super Bowls over the course of 10 seasons, 3 different quarterbacks. Joe Theismann, Doug Williams, Mark Rippon led them to their 3 Super Bowl wins. And that alone, that just tells you what a great coach Joe Gibbs was. When you win Super Bowls 3 times with 3 different quarterbacks.
Well, it really is. That team, what they were able to do, as you said, with different quarterbacks. Doug Williams was on the sideline before the game, and now he's a part of the organization in the front office and the personnel. Joe Theismann's in the booth right next to us. Both of us had a chance to talk to him before the game, still heavily involved with this organization.
From the 12-yard line, McCoy, short pop over the middle, lost the football, picked up by New England. Jamie Collins with the recovery. That catch is made by Trey Quinn.
And Quinn with the reception. You can see Jonathan Jones looks like he's the one that comes in and punches it out. Excellent technique by Jones, uses that right hand to punch on the ball.
So look at the Patriots set up now inside the 20-yard line. See there, the first fumble recovery of the season for this New England D.
Well, they lead the NFL in takeaways, but they were all 10 interceptions. So as you said, the first fumble recovery on the season. Now you got to see how this Greg Manowski defense responds with their backs right up against their own goal line.
Play fake. Brady looks incomplete. Far side. Intended for Josh Gordon, covered well by Quinton Dunbar.
Brady wanted Lacoste. As we take a look at him there walking back to the huddle, Lacoste was the tight end trying to work the middle of the field to a quick play fake. They've hit it several times, but that time he's not able to get a release as the contact coming off the line of scrimmage. Brady just having to get rid of the ball. Case Keenum trying to give Quinn a little bit of a pep talk there, keep his head in the game.
Brady, quick pass. That is James White out of the backfield. You know, it's so easy to say, well, just New England just has to go out and replace Rob Gronkowski. How do you do that?
Well, we brought that up to Coach Belichick last night. He said, you don't just replace Rob Gronkowski. He goes, there's not many people to have ever played the game, as he told us last night, that you would replace for Rob Gronkowski. So he knows that's an important piece that's missing.
3rd and 6. They need the 6-yard line for a first down. Brady under pressure and had to throw it in a hurry, and it's intercepted. Monte Nicholson inside the 5-yard line. That pressure on the quarterback we talked about, Trent.
They come with the blitz off the left side. They get right into Brady's face immediately, and they just try throwing that bullets route or the release of White up the sideline.
So matching turnovers down here in this part of the field.
Nicholson called on the pass interference on the earlier drive, the field goal drive, and that time getting his head around and able to make the interception.
His second of the season. Comes with 5:19 to play in the first half.
Well, and his momentum carried him into the end zone, but they're going to give him the ball at the 1 or 2 yard line here. Looks like inside the 1.
Yeah, at about the half-yard line. Looks like he made the interception at the 2. I'm not sure that he's down at all on the field before he went into the end zone. Peterson not only fought his way out of the end zone, but fought for about 4 yards. Gene Steratore, you back with us?
I am, Greg, and as far as the interception and momentum, the intercepting player, when his second foot lands, he's at the 1 yard line. That completes that interception. If his original momentum then carries him into the end zone where then he is down, by rule, that football goes back to the spot of that interception, which was the 1. 1st and 10 for the Redskins, and a really good job by the officials on the field to get that right.
All right, Gene, thank you. We have a whistle, and this play will not count. There are penalty markers down.
False start. Offense, number 17. Penalty will be enforced half the distance to the goal. Second down.
That penalty is on the rookie wide receiver, Terry McLaurin. Third-round pick out of Ohio State.
Well, I know we need to bring Gene in to get some clarification. You're going to see the far side 17 as he shuffles up. Doesn't get set for a full second. You have to be set in your stance for a full second before the ball can be snapped. But going back to the first down run by AP, I thought it was going to be a safety. He was stopped right at the goal line, and just the fact he was able to push it out to the 5 was impressive.
2nd and 8. McCoy to the near side of the field. The catch is made just across the 20-yard line by McLaurin, and a first down.
You got to respect the speed of McLaurin, and I know he missed last week's game because of a hamstring injury. They weren't sure if he was going to play this week, but you can see Gilmore, the cushion that he's given him because he respects that speed. McCoy with the accurate throw to give him separation and a first down out to the 20.
Just under 4 minutes to play. First down at the 20, and this is Peterson again. And Peterson fighting again, this time across the 25, and we have another flag down.
Holding. Offense. Number 72. 10-yard penalty. First down.
Well, back to Adrian Peterson for a moment. We were talking about how coming into this game, just 33 carries for 90 yards and a touchdown. And we asked Jay Gruden about that. He said he had to make a decision week one. He had 2 number 1 backs, and he had to sit one of them down, and it happened to be Peterson in favor of Geis.
And he wasn't real happy about that, and I'm talking about Adrian Peterson, as you would expect that he wouldn't be. And, you know, he just, unfortunately, the injury meant that Peterson was going to be back on the field in week 2, and he said, you know what, I'm just moving forward. I don't want to look back on what happened in week 1.
More flags.
More flags. Another false start.
False start. Offense. Number 76. 5-yard penalty.
The penalty is on right tackle Morgan Moses. That was Donald Penn giving referee Clay Martin an earful.
Well, and there was some excitement. You had 1st and 10. You just got a big completion out to the 20-yard line, and now all of a sudden, after a couple of penalties, it's 1st and 25. Not doing themselves any favor.
43rd penalty against Washington this season, 3rd most in the NFL. McCoy pulls it down, throws, another flag goes down as Chris Thompson makes the catch.
Well, and if this ends up being in the end zone, then it's a safety. If it's out, then now you're going to have the ball back on the 1.
And Donald Penn continues the discussion.
Holding. Offense. Number 67. The penalties decline. 2nd down.
The penalty is on the rookie Wes Martin. Let's see where that was.
It ends up being a bull rush, and you can see he goes and he throws it. I don't know how you call that a hole. The outside player to his right gets thrown on top of the back of the person that he's blocking, so then it's 2 guys stacked on top of one another. I don't know how you call that holding, but that's what it is, and they actually declined the penalty.
Yeah, as you mentioned, dangerously close to the goal line, being a safety. 2nd and 21. McCoy over the middle. And out close to the 15-yard line is Paul Richardson, the 60-year wide receiver out of Colorado. And we get a timeout called on the field.
I would think it's New England trying to save some time here when they get the ball back.
So they have 1 timeout remaining here in the first half. Washington has 2. Just a reminder for you, coming up, the Verizon Halftime Report. JB and the guys back in New York have all the latest NFL scores and highlights coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. Well, I know you're a big proponent, Trent, of work being done during the week to prepare for Sunday. So how tough is this for Colt McCoy?
Well, it's not tough in the mental part he's ready for. He's been doing this now in this system for 6 years. He understands the game plan, understands what Jay Gruden wants done, and even when he was injured, he was still around football. It's the physical part, having the confidence in your leg, having the confidence that people falling into it, it's going to be okay, having the strength and the endurance to go a full 4 quarters when you haven't put that much practice time in.
Right now, he has a 3rd and 15. They need the 30-yard line for a first down. Good protection. Throwing. That is complete, but it's going to come up about 4 yards short of a first down. The tight end, Jeremy Sprinkle.
Well, I'm a little bit surprised they didn't go ahead and take their last timeout right there, because you have the 2-minute warning coming up. So you take the timeout, make them punt, get the ball back, then you have the 2-minute warning after that. But Coach Belichick trying to save one in his pocket for down the stretch.
2 minutes to play with 1 timeout remaining for the New England Patriots. 9-7 Pats.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by USAA, made for the military community. And by Verizon, the network more people rely on.
The Lincoln Memorial, built to honor the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, located on the western end of the National Mall across from the Washington Monument. If you are a sightseer, this is the town to be in.
Oh, so you could spend weeks here going to see all this stuff.
On 4th and 4. Tress Wade kicks it away. Gunnar Olszewski from his own 18. Right up the middle of the field. Tripped up and falls forward, and a late flag comes in. Clay Martin will give us the info as soon as he finishes pointing here and there.
During the return, illegal block in the back. Number 38, receiving team. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Brandon Bolden with the illegal block. Meanwhile, Tom Brady. Some good passes and maybe 1 or 2 that he wishes he had back.
Well, a week ago, only 150 yards passing against the Buffalo Bills. He's already at 200 yards passing here in the first half. He had the touchdown pass to Edelman early on. And then there, the interception with the pressure in his face. He tries throwing the go route up the sideline to James and intercepted. Back-to-back weeks now with an interception.
200 on the day. And the give is to James White. And White picks his way across the 30 to about the 33-yard line. Washington with 2 timeouts remaining. New England with 1.
Well, you have to remember, Washington won the toss and took the football, so New England gets the ball first coming out in the second half. So this is one of those situations where you can go down, and even if it's only getting a field goal, you get a chance to have back-to-back possessions.
That pass to the sideline to White is incomplete. Stops the clock with 1:22 remaining. Tom Brady creeping up on Brett Favre for the 3rd most passing yards in the history of the NFL. Drew Brees leads the way, Peyton Manning, then Brett Favre, and Brady not far behind him.
Well, and if he stays on the pace that he has so far in this game, before it's all said and done, he could catch Peyton Manning as well today.
3rd and 5. Brady had to pull it down, is going to run and slide short of the 40-yard line, but enough, it appears, for the first down. And another penalty.
Well, you may wonder why he stopped the way he did. Well, you can see there that knee brace dug into the grass. Very awkward slide, but when the metal part of that brace was able to come in contact with the grass, it just, now watch this.
Holding, offense, number 75. 10-yard penalty, third down.
Yeah, that's a sudden stop.
That is. He's fortunate with that back ankle, that left ankle, didn't get pinned underneath him as the brace grabbed hold of the ground. But because of the penalty now, it moves it back, setting up a 3rd and long.
The flag was on Ted Karras, the New England center, and it'll be 3rd and 15. Again, New England with 1 timeout, Washington with 2. We may see Washington use 1 here with a good defensive play. They're going to run it. They're going to run it with White, and White to about the 28-yard line, and timeout is called by Washington. So each team with 1 timeout remaining. Trent, what were you doing in 97 and 98?
We're going to take a look at the hold right here. Gets that arm hooked all the way around to the back, and then as he goes down, pulls him with him. 97, 98, I was right here, Greg.
Yes, I asked the question because I knew that.
Yes, I was right here.
You got him 1 game off the bench in 97, but you tore it up in 98. 23 touchdowns, 11 interceptions.
I was 28 years old and finally got a chance to play. So I'd been waiting a long time just to get a snap, let alone start a football game. So it was good to get out there and play again.
There's no foul, but the ball was never made ready for play. 4th down.
3,441 yards throwing. You know all this, of course. I've seen it written on the side of your car.
I don't know those exact numbers, but yeah, Norv Turner was the head coach, and he gave me an opportunity to play, and ran with it at that point. Like I said, I was 28, just getting a chance to play. I'd been in the league for a while, so.
What a great offensive mind to play for, Norv Turner. This is Trey Quinn. Quinn hit hard as he approached the sideline and is out of bounds close to the 25-yard line.
As you know, Greg, I think the world of Norv Turner and what he helped me with my career and so many other players and offenses throughout the league that he's worked for.
We always talk about, it's a joke with some of the quarterbacks we come into contact with about sliding. Some of them are good at it and some aren't. How were you?
I hated to slide, and then after having some concussions and dealing with that, I was like, okay, well now I guess I have to slide. I was terrible at it.
I was going to say that really explains a lot.
I was terrible. I was like, I'd rather go head first and kind of maneuver my way in. If I'm sliding and I end up getting hit, it's
under a minute to play. Intercepted. Picked off by Jason McCourty.
And Greg, you asked me just a couple minutes ago, what's the biggest thing or the hardest thing for McCoy when you don't have time to practice, you don't have time to work, and the mental part, the physical part, whatever it may be, it's the timing of it and being on the same page with your receivers. Many times in this league, you have to throw the ball before the receiver gets out of his route. McCoy this time anticipating Sims to come to the inside, and he doesn't. He sits it down. You see how he throws the ball to the inside? He thought that's where the receiver was going. He was going to get him to cross McCourty's face. Instead, he stops and goes to move to the outside. Easy interception.
That is the 11th pick of the season for the New England Patriots. And they lead the league in that department easily. Brady to the 5, and run out of bounds at the 5 is Jacoby Myers. Fabian Moreau with the stop. Stops the clock with 46 seconds to play.
Well, and New England still has that timeout in their pocket, so as much as they want to get it out of bounds, the main goal is get it into the end zone and use up the time.
You saw the McCourty twins there. 5 picks between them this season. 32 Devin has one in each of the first 4 games of the season, and Jason picks up his first of the year here. Brady throwing over everybody and into the seats. It'll be 3rd and 4. So going back to that pass, Trent, it's just must be heartbreaking for a quarterback when everything goes right, but then it's just turn this way or turn that way.
It is when you're throwing the ball early and you're trying to time it out. It's one of those things. You hear coaches use the expression, you wish you had a string or rope on the ball. As soon as that ball leaves your fingertips, you just want to pull it back because you're anticipating where you think he's going to be. And then when he stops and goes the other direction, there's really not a whole lot you can do.
And now Washington uses its third and final timeout to take a look defensively at 3rd and 4. Brady has already attempted 30 passes today. He's 19 of 30 for 206, a touchdown and an interception.
The Redskins have mainly played zone throughout the day, but go back to the last interception down here near this same end zone. It was pressure that forced Brady to throw it early, and the Redskins were able to make the interception. Let's see how they line up. It looks like they're going to line up in where they could bring some interior pressure.
Brady under pressure, escapes, looking, running, and throws it away. Lucky to escape the sack 5 yards further back.
Well, they set it up like they could rush 5. Instead, they only rushed 3 and dropped 7, but it's Kerrigan coming off the edge that forces Brady up into the pocket. And once he gets up there, those 8 defenders were all either at the line or either at the goal line or in the end zone, so nowhere for him to throw. As soon as Brady looks like he's going to take off and run, trying to bring those guys up, he just has no choice but to throw it away.
So here's Mike Nugent from 23 yards out. He was good from 37 earlier. And he's good from 23. And with half a minute to play here in the first half, New England extends its lead to 12-7.
Well, the biggest difference for me, Greg, has been what the defense, how the response of Greg Minuski's defense, what these guys have done. They got the interception on the previous series down there. This time they hold them to a field goal. They've had their backs up against their own goal line several times and still keeping this within reach at 5 points with 30 seconds to go in the half.
Yeah, were it not for a couple of mistakes that really could have gone the other way, Washington's right in it.
And they really, from an offensive standpoint, they've got 127 yards of total offense. 65 of it came on the touchdown run, so half of it came on one play. They've just got to take advantage. They've turned the ball over. Their defense has responded. They need to get some breaks, some opportunities, whether it be in the special teams, whether it be their own defense getting turnovers and getting them field position. They're just hanging around close enough to where all of a sudden it takes that one big play, that one big momentum changer to get them going.
Washington has no timeouts. New England has one, and this will fly through the end zone. By the way, good to see Alex Smith.
It was.
We practice on Friday and here today, viewing the game.
Yeah, he's been through a lot with the injury he suffered a year ago, and
there's Alex and his wife.
Just the surgeries that he's had to endure, and man, had a great attitude, positive approach, been a great teammate. The coaching staff and the players we had a chance to talk to, just the way he's approached all of this. It's been difficult, but he's a pro, and that's why he's had the career he's had.
Yeah, we were here that day he suffered the injury against Houston. Half a minute to play. 12-7 New England. And looks like they're going to run out the clock. This is Adrian Peterson, and Peterson brought to a stop at about the 28-yard line. And that looks like that'll be the last play of the first half as most of the Washington team begins to make their way to the locker room. Plenty to talk about at halftime. Most people did not think this would be a tight game at halftime, but it is.
Well, New England will get the ball first coming out in the second half.
Belichick Brady and company will regroup, and so will Washington. 12-7 Patriots at halftime. Halftime is next after these first half highlights from Verizon and a word from your local station. We welcome you back to Landover, Maryland, where New England has the lead at halftime over Washington by a score of 12-7. Greg Gumbel along with Trent Green. This game has been a lot of things, and I'm not sure any of them were what we expected coming in. We talked about this game. Everybody expected this game to be a blowout. That certainly hasn't happened. Tom Brady and the Patriots have come in here determined to throw the football, and they've done that, which means they've got to find some ways to pressure him.
They do, and that's what Washington's defense has been able to do. The fact that they've held him to the number of points. And when you look at the pressure, they're able. At the top of this, we said, how are they going to affect Tom Brady and move him off his spot? It's been the front four so far. Allen, Ioannidis, Kerrigan. They've been able to get pressure on Tom Brady. And yes, he has 200 yards passing in the first half, but they've been able to knock him off the spots, and they've been able to get an interception from him. The other thing the Washington's defense has been doing, they were last in the league in third downs, their defense. Today, New England is just 2 of 9 on third down conversion, so they've been doing an excellent job getting them off the field.
So what do you expect as we start this second half with New England getting the football?
Well, you're going to see a determined offense. They've done a lot of no huddle. They've tried to keep rhythm going offensively. It's just getting into those long third downs where Washington is able to get that pressure, and they've been able to get pressure with just the 4 defensive players. So I look for them to continue doing the no huddle, continue keeping that tempo, because they've had success. They've just got to be able to finish off drives.
Let's check in with Melanie.
Well, Greg, no surprise, Jay Gruden was very happy with that first half, specifically his defensive front seven. He said they're getting a ton of pressure, stopping the run, but he felt like Colt McCoy was a bit shaky in the first half. His message to his guys, don't let off the gas. Bill Belichick was visibly frustrated. He said, we just got to execute, and they're going to have to do it without wide receiver Philip Dorsett, who's out with a hamstring injury.
All right, Melanie, thank you. From the 25, Brady and company. And this is Sony Michel.
Interesting, Greg, that you said they only ran the ball 7 times in the first half in the very first play. They come out and hand the ball to Michel, trying to get something going on the ground.
So let's try to go into the mind of Bill Belichick. Obviously, during the week, he saw something that said our best route to success is to throw the ball today.
Well, and I think when you look at what Washington does defensively, if you can go that hurry up no huddle, you can get some things. You can get some indicators from the defense by going no huddle, because they have to turn around in their communication. They can't get into some of their more intricate things, and I think that was the distinct plan today.
There was a time when you'd say, hey, you're looking to achieve balance on offense. The ground and through the air, but
not so much anymore.
Not
so much anymore. Maybe up the road in Baltimore, the Ravens still have quite a bit of balance with the way they attack with that run game.
Brady threw the ball 31 times in the first half. That's a career high for him in first half passing. Brady got rid of it and throws complete. And that's James White, and White still fighting for yardage. He is brought down just across midfield.
And for the most part in the first half, that's what Washington didn't allow them to have, is a big chunk of yardage, a big play where they bring pressure. This time Brady buys time outside the pocket. He gets James White, who's able to pick up some extra yards.
The rare huddle for New England on offense. This is Michel. And Michel, little running room, left side. Got at the nose of the football just across the 45-yard line. Cole Holcomb, the rookie linebacker out of North Carolina, making the tackle. 2nd and 5.
Well, if you look at the whole season in general with the New England Patriots, their running game hasn't been a heavy load of it, and Sony Michel being their main running back coming into the game was averaging less than 3 yards per carry, and today just 4 attempts, 10 yards on just 4 attempts.
Hey, alert, 53.
Michel again. And Michel has first down yardage and more, fights his way inside the 35 to the 33-yard line. Josh Norman with the tackle, and the Patriots have obviously come out in a different frame of mind.
Well, I think they had a pass call there, and I think Brady saw something with the front. You saw him go alert, alert. He pointed to his head and did whatever signals he had to do with everybody, and they shifted in terms of their stance and how they were going to approach it, and then all of a sudden you get a nice run to pick up the first down.
So Brandon Bolden now into the backfield behind Brady, and he'll get a carry here. And is hit hard just as he crossed the 30-yard line by Landon Collins.
Collins coming over from the Giants and just bringing this. He leads the team in tackles. The collision, the lift, the form.
Yeah, I was right when I called it hard.
Yes.
So a pickup of 4 makes it 2nd and 6. Clock continues to move. 11 minutes to play in the 3rd. Brady to throw. Under pressure, throws it, has a man open. He's got him to the end zone. Touchdown, Brandon Bolden.
Well, this is what New England wanted to do coming out in the second half with their first possession. Bolden's lined up in the backfield. He's just going to take it and shoot. He's got man-to-man coverage. He's just going to work up the boundary. Late blitz by the Redskins. Isn't able to get to Brady, and he takes advantage of the one-on-one up the sideline for 6.
Here's Nugent. And it is good. The Patriots come out, take the opening kickoff, and put 7 on the board. There's the scoring drive, 7 plays, 75 yards in just over 4 minutes, and Brandon Bolden on the receiving end of the 29-yard touchdown pass. And Tom Brady continues to climb the charts with career passing yardage. We'll show you that in a second, but getting a bunch of those numbers. This will go through the end zone for the touchback. Here's what we're talking about. Most passing yards in NFL history. With 8 more passing yards, he will pass Brett Favre and is not too far behind Peyton Manning.
About 110, yeah, 110 will get him past Manning into number 2.
I had my calculator out. Meanwhile, here's Washington from the 25-yard line and needing to generate some offense. Quick pass, that is complete to Jeremy Sprinkle, the tight end. You mentioned earlier, Trent, they're missing those 2 extraordinary tight ends, Jordan Reed and Vernon Davis. Those are really good football players.
Just an important part of this offense and how they like to utilize the tight end. As you take a look at the first half offense, 65 yards on the Sims touchdown run, and all 25 plays combined produce 65 yards. So need to get something going here in the second half offensively.
180!
Play fake to Peterson. The pass is complete. Going to midfield and then some is the rookie Terry McLaurin. Stephon Gilmore making the tackle. So that'll be a first down for Washington after a 22-yard pickup.
Very similar to what you see New England do. It's they hang the ball out there. You've seen Brady do it for years and years, and you hang the ball out there. You let the linebackers see the football thinking it's going to be a run. That brings it up. You get that second window throw. Accurate throw by McCoy, picking up a first down crossing midfield.
Peterson. Nowhere to go. Dietrich Wise, the first to hit him. Adrian Peterson, 107 career rushing touchdowns. It's number 5 all-time in NFL history, and more than 13,400 rushing yards. He's number 8 on that list. And still with one of the most dangerous handshakes in all of football.
He's just so strong. It's his running style. His handshake's the same as his running style, right? It's you better be prepared.
McCoy. The short pass. And we have a penalty marker down as Steven Sims looked for running room and couldn't find any.
Legal use of the hands, hands to the face. Offense, number 77. 10-yard penalty, second down.
That is Eric Flowers, the former New York Giant, the fifth-year guard out of Miami.
They haven't had a ton of penalties today. It's just been untimely penalties. Think about going back to the first half where they finally get the ball away from their goal line. They get out to the 20, and then back-to-back penalties move them back inside their own 5. Now they get across midfield. They have a negative play on first down. They get the penalty to move them back even further, just making it difficult on themselves.
We're talking about manageable downs, and they've gotten away from that. 2nd and 21, that pass midfield to Richardson will bring us to 3rd down and probably about 12 or 13. Let's see where they spot it. Right at the midfield stripe.
Well, now you'd have to think, if you can pick up 10 yards, make it 4th and 3, then you would even consider thinking about going forward on 4th down. So if you're Colt McCoy, don't force something down the field, just trying to get it to the sticks. Just try and get some positive play and see if a guy can't make a play for you.
McCoy with time. This side of the field and way overthrowing his intended receiver, Terry McLaurin. So that'll bring the punter Tress Way and the rest of the special teams unit onto the field, and Jay Gruden not the least bit happy.
Well, if you're going to make that throw against Gilmore, that's got to be your first read. You got to just come back, hit your foot, throw it, not allow him any chance to recover on it, knowing that it's going to be a comeback that's short of the sticks. And that was actually the 2nd or 3rd read, so by the time he got there, that was a smart decision just to throw it out of bounds.
Olszewski with the fair catch at about the 11 or the 12-yard line. 7:40 to play in the 3rd. 19-7 Patriots.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Cologuard. Colon cancer screening made easy. Progressive, making it easy to bundle your home and car insurance. And by Hyundai.
Look at some of the all-time Washington greats as the NFL celebrates season number 100. Doug Williams made history in 1988, becoming the first African-American quarterback to win the Super Bowl. He was also the game MVP. So Brady with the give to Michel. He stood up and pushed back by Jonathan Allen. See, it's interesting now, Trent, to see if and when a philosophical change will come about now on this New England offense.
Well, we touched on it in the first half, or you did, where you said they only had 7 carries in the first half. They've already had 6 rushing attempts here to start off the second half. So you can see that they've had more of a concerted effort to try and get the run game going.
Brady to throw. Diving catch is made by Julian Edelman. Out to about the 27-yard line, and a flag is down in the middle of the field.
They're thinking they're going to get holding on Josh Norman.
Prior to the pass, holding, defense, number 24. That penalty is declined. Result of the play is a first down.
Washington players were looking for a push off by Edelman, but watch at the top of the route. Norman had that left hand in the shoulder pads of Edelman,
and that elevates Mr. Brady to number 3 passing yards all time. on first down. Sony Michel, running room, left side, up the sideline and out of bounds as he crosses midfield. Sony Michel, who told us yesterday last season was like a dream come true for him.
Michel's going to take off to the right and just work it all the way back. Great job of blocking up front as you see this point of attack. The kick out, he's able to cut through as the defense over pursues, getting the run game going.
25-yard pickup on the play. 6:05 to play. Bolden to the 45, and we get another update. Let's take you to New York, JB and Boomer.
The Bears out of hibernation.
I'll tell you what, 21 straight points here in the third quarter to start the second half. Chase Daniel's second TD of the day. That to Allen Robinson. Bears take the lead 21-17. Chase Daniel 13-17, 149 yards and 2 TDs, JB.
Back to Greg Gumbel.
All right, guys, thank you. 2nd and 7. Quick pass, crossing pattern. Edelman, 30, 25, 20, 15. And upended just inside the 15-yard line by Landon Collins. Julian Edelman, just a model of consistency on offense.
Well, and he has been, and it has been for a long time. The connection that he and Brady have, the fact with the yards after catch, he's always had secure hands. He did have the drop earlier in the day. That isn't the norm. He had an outstanding catch dragging his feet near the sideline. Most of the time he's working between the numbers, so he's going to take some hits. That time able to get separation, over 100 yards receiving on the day.
Brady gives it to Michel. Michel, the 10, the 5, looking for the end zone, and he gets there.
Two drives here to open up the second half for the New England Patriots, and both of them touchdown drives. They found a little something in the running game. They made a concerted effort since halftime to come out and run the football. Sony Michel taking full advantage as you see the hole gets to that second level. A couple of stiff arms.
6 plays, 88 yards. The kick by Nugent is good. And Sony Michel registers the rushing touchdown that boosts the Patriots' lead to 26-7. Only 3:05 off the clock to go 88 yards. Sony Michel with a 14-yard touchdown. And the Patriots slowly taking control, 26-7. It's been a different game here in the second half in Landover. Steven Sims is deep and will not get a chance to run this one back. The touchback will bring it to the 25. We were talking about Colt McCoy. Alex Smith's name came up, didn't it, Melanie?
Yeah, Greg, it wasn't long after Alex Smith's injury last season that Colt McCoy also went down with a broken fibula. Now, the severity was not the same, but Colt told us on Friday that for about 2 weeks last fall, he and Alex were side by side in the hospital, and he said to be able to go through some of that together, Alex has just been an amazing support system for him, and he just can't speak highly enough about him.
All right, Melanie, thank you. You know, that little thing came up, Trent, about having to re-break a bone. Did you say that you had to do that?
No.
Oh.
I was explaining why or how they would do it. Fortunately, I didn't have to endure that.
This is Chris Thompson, and Chris Thompson, with some running room, has a first down before he is bumped out of bounds.
A lot of other stuff, but other.
That's Alex Smith saying hello to Tom Brady before the game.
Two class guys.
Yeah. It was funny to hear Tom Brady talking about all the younger quarterbacks and how he appreciates their game. Then he names Ben Roethlisberger and Aaron Rodgers.
And I laughed and I said, Ben and Aaron would appreciate the fact that you're calling them younger quarterbacks. And he just laughed and was like, well, they are younger to me.
Chris Thompson brought to a stop by Dietrich Wise. .42 or older. Wow. 4-0 record. McCoy going to go deep and incomplete. Terry McLaurin, intended receiver, covered well on the play. Boy, the Washington linemen are having their fair share of gripes today with the officiating, or lack of it, as far as their viewpoint.
Well, there was a little extracurricular going on afterwards, and Flowers got up, and the official was right there, and he's stating his case as to why something wasn't called. But
does that ever work?
No.
3rd and 8. Batted down just as he released it. That was Kyle Van Noy. You know, that long pass on the previous play, we haven't seen Washington take many shots today.
Not many shots down the field. Some of it has to do with the protection and how much time McCoy has in the pocket. The other is just the fact that you don't want to push your luck. This defense is really good. They lead the league in takeaways. They lead the league in sacks. They lead the league in interceptions. And you don't want to push your luck against the All-Pro Gilmore too often.
Tressway kicking it away again, and Olszewski, fair catch call for and made at the 16-yard line. 3:24 to play in the 3rd. Tom Brady back to work with a 26-7 lead.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by AT&T. More for your thing. That's our thing. And by Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Washington focusing its Crucial Catch campaign on breast cancer awareness, and today 30 women currently battling or survivors of breast cancer honored on the field. We do indeed honor those wonderful ladies. Brady, quick crossing pattern. Gordon brought down close to the 35-yard line. And while we're at it, we have a wonderful member of our crew, Rachel McNair, CBS broadcast associate, been with us all season long. We're sending our thoughts out to her and her family. Her mom, Reverend Dr. Dolores McNair, has been courageously battling a serious illness, and Rachel, as she knows, our entire crew, send our prayers to you and your mom. Brady to throw. Michelle out of the backfield. And is spun out of bounds at the 40-yard line.
I'm a little surprised, Greg, the success that the Patriots had running the football last series, that they've come out throwing this one. So trying to keep you guessing.
The key would be to do the unexpected.
That's right, and that's what they've done.
Look at me, I'm a coordinator. Coming up on 2:15 to play in the 3rd. On the play fake, that pass can't connect with Matt Lacoste. So Brady up to 326 yards on the day, career game number 90 with 300 or more yards. That's number 3 in the all-time annals.
Well, and 40 yards from passing Peyton Manning to move into 2nd all-time.
So 3rd and 4. And Brady goes down at the 30-yard line. Deron Payne with the sack. And that's 4 sacks of Brady today.
Payne will be working right from here, and you're also going to see pressure coming off the edge from the outside. Watch this pain. It ends up being Kerrigan. Ioannidis went to the inside, but hang on to the ball, trying to push it up the field.
So Trey Quinn hoping for some room to return this. He's not going to get it. Has to make the fair catch, backing up toward his own 10-yard line. 1:22 to play here in the third. A reminder, Saturday, the SEC on CBS features #1 Alabama and its electric offense in enemy territory, facing #25 ranked Texas A&M and their raucous 12th man. It all begins with the drive to Atlanta in college football today here on CBS. There are a few college teams here and there that can put points on the board, aren't there?
Man, I tell you what, it's a lot of fun watching how many points are flying around on Saturdays. Speaking about points flying around, the Redskins need to get something going here, get some points on the board, get a little momentum shift.
Yeah, there's been a definite lack of consistency. McCoy under pressure, had to get rid of it. Dante Hightower came close.
What I tell you earlier in the game, sometimes as a quarterback you throw the ball and you wish you had a little string on it and you could pull it back. That time there, I could tell you, once McCoy let that ball go and he saw Hightower undercutting it, you start drifting in that direction, like get yourself in position to make the tackle.
What I want to know is if every once in a while do you also go, no?
You do. Yes, you do.
What you got?
Second and 10. McCoy towards the sideline, incomplete. McLaurin couldn't handle it. That's a pretty good pass. It appeared to be by Trent McCoy, or by Colt McCoy.
The problem is that he stared it down. He had double routes. Each side of the field was doing the same exact thing. He stared left the whole time, and that got Harmon to just read his eyes and get in position.
Defense, #24. 5-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
So they get a penalty to go in their favor from Gilmore. Here's the penalty.
Keep an eye on 24 Gilmore and see if he gets the hands up in the face. There it is, right around the neck as he jams him off the line of scrimmage. It's an excellent throw. It's where you want to put it. It's just you can't stare at it the whole time. When you have free safety in the middle of the field, all he's doing is reading the eyes of the quarterback, and he drifted over, and Harmon was able to knock it away.
Only 7 first downs for Washington all day. McCoy, the short pop to Thompson, and Thompson spun across the 20 to about the 21-yard line. And we have a minute remaining here in the third. Regarding things like that, Trent, you and I were talking about these players who are sometimes mic'd up, and I get the feeling you never really hear the good stuff. Never.
They never can make air, correct.
That pass is complete, and once again, it's Thompson on the receiving end. That tackle made by Jawan Bentley. And we have 25 seconds remaining here in the third. So new set of downs here at the 27-yard line.
It's fine taking these short completions and keeping drives alive, but at some point in time you do have to try and take a shot up the field. This time,
whoa. No shot at a shot there. Hightower and Michael Bennett. And that's how the third quarter ends. It's the end of 3, 26-7 New England. Back to Landover after this message and a word from your local station. Along with our producer, Ken Mack, and our director, Suzanne Smith, Greg Gumbel, Trent Green, Melanie Collins, as we get set to start the fourth quarter here in Landover, New England. In command by a score of 26-7. Second and 19. Colt McCoy was steamrolled in that last play of the third. looks left, pump fake, and then throws it short. This is Chris Thompson, and Thompson cut down from behind at about the 24-yard line by Jawan Bentley. So it'll be third down.
Well, not a lot of plays at 2nd and 20 other than to throw underneath and hope you can get a big chunk of it back. Redskins only 1 of 8 on third down, and leaving yourself 3rd and long doesn't create percentages in your favor.
And this Washington offense has struggled. Take away the 65-yard touchdown run by Steven Sims. The deepest they've gone into New England territory is the Patriot 47-yard line. On the roll, being chased, throws it back the other way, and it goes nowhere. Jawan Bentley once again. Wow.
Well, they had 2 blockers out in front if they could have gotten to that point, but Bentley cut behind them, and Thompson paid the price for it.
Eric Flowers saw the guy run right by him and make the hit. Tress Way, the Washington punter. Olszewski can return this one from the 24. Almost found a seam in a huge collision just across the 40-yard line. 13:22 to play in the fourth. Oh, do Americans want an impeachment inquiry? 60 Minutes travels across the country to find out. Plus, go inside the mind of America's most prolific serial killer tonight on 60 Minutes. Brady gives, and approaching midfield is James White.
Do you think Tom went to the sideline after the last series, after the hits he took, and he said, listen, we got a pretty decent lead here. How about getting back to the run game and focusing on that as he was peeling himself up off the grass?
White cuts inside, a block to the 45-yard line and a first down. I know this. Well, first they'll try to take some time off the clock on the ground if they can, but Bill Belichick has never been one for pulling players and saving them. He believes in leaving them there until the end, and that's particularly something to keep in mind considering they play again on Thursday night against the Giants.
Well, and he's been that guy as Brady decides to pass on this one.
Edelman.
He's been the guy over the years that, you know, you get to week 17 and you have the playoffs secure, you have home field secure, whatever it may be, and a lot of coaches take their guys out. He's been somebody that over the years has went ahead and played him.
That's James White again. Bill is kind of a you can rest on vacation type of guy.
Yeah, he's got his way, and it's obviously the most successful way in NFL history what he's been able to accomplish. So it's hard to argue with his philosophy.
21 first downs for New England. Eludes the pressure and throws incomplete. Intended for Matt Lacoste. It'll be 2nd and 10. A reminder coming up after the game, the State Farm postgame show. JB, Phil, Nate, Boomer, Coach Bill Cowher. Scores and highlights coming up on the State Farm postgame show. Brady has passed Brett Favre, 32 yards shy now of Peyton Manning's number.
53. 319.
Those will count towards it. Josh Gordon with the catch. Let's check in with Melanie.
Well, Greg, after that big hit Chris Thompson took, they took him into the medical tent for about 2 minutes. He cleared concussion protocol, and he is good to return.
Thanks, Melanie.
Yeah, we could hear that one all the way up here. And then we knew, as soon as we saw him moving towards that tent, we said, well, that's an easy call to just go get evaluated. But nice to hear he's going to be okay.
3rd and 4. They'll keep it on the ground. They'll get the first down inside the 20, close to the 15-yard line goes Sony Michel. Sony Michel, his 12th carry of the day, 82 yards. Started to talk about him a little earlier. He was just delighted to be able to go to the Super Bowl. What rookie wouldn't his first year?
Well, you know, you say there's certain guys their whole career never get an opportunity to play in a Super Bowl, let alone win a Super Bowl. And he said, I was fortunate enough as a rookie, had an incredible run during the playoffs last year, and obviously ended up with a Super Bowl championship.
You saw cornerback Quentin Dunbar come off the field. Looked like he was holding his hand or arm. Fabian Moreau has replaced him, and this is Michel. Michel cutting inside the 10, down to about the 8-yard line. Now they'll knock him down at the 9. He has a 14-yard touchdown run earlier.
Well, Greg, to your point that you asked a few minutes ago, if the Patriots do indeed go in here and score, you would think with a short week coming up that they would start taking some of their guys out of the game, but that doesn't necessarily always hold true for what they're thinking.
This is Michel, and Michel gets stacked up at the 10. Well, certainly as a player, you don't want to come out of the game.
Well, you don't.
But,
right.
but depending on how veteran they are, sometimes they need a little more time to recover from game day.
What is there is more of a as you get older, it's a harder recovery. Yes. It's but as a player, I mean, that's the mindset. If you're in, you're playing to win. And even Brady, when we were talking about numbers and stats and all the different things he's accomplished today and has a chance to accomplish this season to just continue to add to his legacy, he said ultimately it's about winning football games, and this team's really good on defense. So
Brady lofts one into the end zone. All alone is Ryan Izzo for the touchdown.
Izzo's going to be lined up to the left side, and Brady stands in the pocket as long as he can. He still takes a shot at the end of it. Izzo lined up on the end of the screen. It's just an easy release up the middle of the field. Brady looks out to his right. He comes back, and nobody covers him. That's one of those ones as a quarterback that you're like, okay, just don't mess it up. The guy's wide open. Don't
you or your receiver.
Yeah, oh yeah. Don't mess it up. Don't drop it. Don't chuck it into the stands.
Nugent hit the upright and bounced through. It's been an adventurous first day as a New England Patriot for Mike Nugent. The touchdown pass to Ryan Izzo. And the Patriots lead is 33-7.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Sonic. This is how you Sonic. Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by Verizon, the network more people rely on.
Worthy of note that after Washington scored the touchdown, New England has come back with 33 unanswered points. 58-yard drive there. And Steven Sims Jr. will not run this one back as it rolls through the end zone. Tom Brady, all he's done to rebound from the day he had last week is come up with a season-high 348 yards and 3 touchdowns to 3 different receivers.
It was almost laughable all week. Everybody talking about what's wrong with Brady. He had 150 yards. He had his lowest quarterback rating in a game since 2006. What's going on? Is the league figured him out? Well, the Bills are a really good defense, and they had a good game plan against them. And he responded the way I thought he would respond, and really has put together a heck of a day.
Low pass sliding catches made by Trey Quinn. And by the way, Brady 17 yards shy of Peyton Manning on that list.
Well, I'd have a hard time believing if he does come back in the game that he'll do anything but hand off, but you never know.
McCoy on the run. Going to tuck it and come up the sideline and out of bounds at about the 40. I would wager that someone on that New England sideline is aware of the numbers.
Yeah, but they don't really like talking about
No.
numbers. You talk to even their defensive players when we had them in the meetings and said, "Are you guys aware of like the historic numbers you're putting up through the first one number seat?" And before you even finish the question, they're sitting there shaking their head and looking at you like, "Nope, don't want to know the numbers."
Yeah,
just go out and
But just because you don't talk about it.
Right. Yeah, Jamie Collins wanted none of it. He's like, "Listen, I'm focused on the next play. Get ready for the next." He wasn't biting on that question at all.
McCoy throwing the other side of the field, and that catch is made by Kelvin Harmon, the rookie out of North Carolina State.
And shockingly, when I asked Bill Belichick, the historic numbers that you're putting up, do you use that as motivation to talk to your team and talk to them about some of the things that they could potentially do in NFL history? And he goes, "All we're worried about is stopping Washington." I kind of laughed. I said, "Yeah, that's kind of what."
Jamie Collins in on Colt McCoy. Jamie Collins was one of those guys. Our conversation. Do you not know that you're the best team, the defensive team in the NFL? No.
He didn't know any of it. And he puts on a heck of a hit there. That's McCoy was slow to get up.
So this is Donald Penn having a tough time making it to the sideline. And so they'll take a timeout here and take a look at the 13-year veteran from Utah State. Well, whether you're aware of the numbers or not, the numbers don't lie as far as the quality of this New England D.
It's been incredible to see it firsthand, and we touched at the top of this today. The Home Depot matchup I talked about was the offensive line of the Redskins against the defense of the Patriots. The fact the defense of the Patriots is number one in so many categories. You can see them right there. Yards a game, points a game, total yards, turnovers, sacks, red zone defense, third down defense. It just goes on and on and on where they lead the league, and they haven't disappointed today what they've been able to do from a production standpoint and the pressure. They have 6 sacks on McCoy.
How about if you only give up 7 points and your average goes up? Because you come in giving up 6.8 a game.
And you have to remember, on defense, they've only given up 1 touchdown, I believe, coming into this. So it's until today where obviously Sims had the long touchdown run, but it's been pretty remarkable what they've done so far this season.
We're going to run this one with Chris Thompson, and Thompson bulls his way to about the 35-yard line. That'll be short of a first down by a couple of yards.
Well, and I love Bill Belichick's response when I said, "Are you excited about being back in?" And he's always been involved in the coaching aspect of it, even the defensive aspect of it. When Brian Flores and Matt Patricia were there, I said, "Are you recharged or re-energized? The fact that you're more of the daily grind of preparing a defense and getting the defense ready." And he said, "The best part about it is I get to work with my boys on a daily basis. Both boys are involved in it, the teaching process of young coaches, and obviously getting the opportunity to coach with his sons."
We have a penalty flag on the kick. There are the McCourty twins. Jason on the left, Devin on the right.
During the kick, holding, receiving team, number 33. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Juwan Williams guilty of the hold.
Jarrett Stidham now in the game.
So much for all of our philosophizing about the numbers and the meanings.
Yes. He's not going to catch Peyton Manning today. He's staying over on the sidelines the rest of this game.
Jarrett Stidham, 4th-round draft pick out of Auburn University. So let's just be clear that for Coach Belichick, he probably is very aware of a Thursday night game. To the 15-yard line is Michel. So Jarrett Stidham was part of the 30-14 New England win over the New York Jets. Completed 2 of 3 passes for 14 yards and was picked once. Third down now as we come up to 5.5 minutes to play here in the 4th quarter.
And if you're Stidham, what a valuable opportunity to play behind and be behind Tom Brady. See how he conducts himself on a day-to-day basis, how he prepares himself, how he goes about his business in preparation, both physically and mentally. Great opportunity for him.
Stidham to throw on 3rd and 7, incomplete. Right behind his intended receiver, Jacoby Myers. This lead will stand up, and it will be a 10th straight win for New England, including postseason. Their last loss, Week 15 of last year, 17-10 at Pittsburgh against the Steelers. So here's Jake Bailey. And Trey Quinn going to watch this one fly out of bounds on the near side of the field. So this is what's ahead of the New England Patriots. They'll be home to the Giants on Thursday, travel to the New York Jets, home to Cleveland, and Baltimore, Philadelphia, Dallas still on the schedule. Then they hit their bye week.
Well, even look at their road games. They're not traveling very far. Those are quicker trips instead of some of the cross-country journeys you see teams going back and forth.
So Wendell Smallwood is in the backfield with Colt McCoy. And McCoy throwing into heavy traffic. Intended for a Jeremy Sprinkle. Melanie Collins.
Well, Greg, you see Colt McCoy back out there, but he spent a few minutes just now in the medical tent. The independent spotter had called down for the Redskins medical staff to evaluate him for a concussion. He obviously cleared and is back in the game.
All right, Melanie, thank you. Another note about this New England defense. They are on the verge of going 5 straight games this season without allowing a passing touchdown. In this world, Trent, that's rare.
The way offenses attack now, yeah, that's pretty uncommon at any point in time to go 5 straight games, but to start off a season.
1988 Cleveland Browns, the last team with a 5-game streak without allowing a passing touchdown. That is Jerome Cunningham being helped off the field. Third and 5.
Redskins only 1 of 10 on 3rd down conversions today. Make that 3rd and 10 now.
False start. Offense, number 77, 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Remind you, coming up after the game, the State Farm post-game show. JB, Phil, Nate, Boomer, Coach Bill Cowher. Scores and highlights coming up on the State Farm post-game show.
Look at this. They're not letting up. They got safety in the middle. They got 8 guys at the line of scrimmage. They're bringing pressure.
This side incomplete. Intended for Terry McLaurin.
Instead of going soft coverage, rush 3 or 4, drop everybody down, make them throw underneath, rally, and tackle. They're still bringing the heat.
Terry McLaurin, the rookie out of Ohio State. The backup quarterback, Dwayne Haskins, today. The rookie out of Ohio State. Think they played well together?
They put together a heck of a combination.
This ball will bounce and take a Washington roll inside the 10 and down at about the 6-yard line. So here's what Washington is looking at as they try to find a win on the schedule. They travel to Miami, host San Francisco here, and then go to Minnesota and Buffalo.
And you may be thinking, is it time, whether it's the rest of this game or moving forward in the season with Dwayne Haskins as the quarterback? And you saw him a week ago. He had the 3 interceptions, didn't look completely comfortable. And talking to Jay Gruden about it, he said, listen, he's got a lot to learn about the NFL, and we don't want to just throw him out there to throw him out there.
But you do need to get the experience somewhere and sometime, right?
You do at some point in time, but if you're not ready, then all of a sudden you have what happened last week. It gets ugly fast. You know, with the 3 interceptions, it's you got to put in the time and the hours just to understand it, and that's where he's at right now. He's trying to learn this offense. It's not something that you can just pick up right away. If it's not something you're comfortable doing, you have to remember at Ohio State he was in shotgun, looked to the sideline, never really huddled up, never called plays in the huddle. Did a lot of the snap count was either clapping your hands or lifting your legs. So there's a number of different things that you need to do to get it done as we take a look at last week.
Dwayne Haskins' rough NFL debut against the Giants, completed just 9 out of 17, picked off 3 times, including one that was returned for a touchdown. So we're talking about gaining experience and useful playing time, but you know what? Colt McCoy needs that too.
Yeah, this is just his 3rd start in the last 5 seasons, but the fact that he's been in this offense with Jay Gruden and gives them more experience to be able to check plays at the line of scrimmage, check with protections in terms of how you want to make adjustments, he's in a better position to give this team or have some success than where Haskins is right now. And there may come a point in time in the season where you decide, you're only a month into it, so Haskins has only been around this offense for a short time. Maybe in another month, maybe in 6 weeks, maybe after the bye week, if things are still going poorly, you say, you know what, this is going to be your team moving forward, and you make that decision at that point in time. But to throw him in there after seeing last week, to throw him in there now, I don't think you'd be doing him a service for him or the team.
And in a situation like this, it's kind of like putting him right in the sights.
Oh yeah, because you would have defensive coordinators and defensive players would salivate, would just be drooling to get on the field.
Ball bounces out of bounds, close to the 40-yard line, with 2:20 to play. Now there's been all kinds of conversation here in the D.C. area about head coach Jay Gruden as well. He's been on the as most any coach would be after an 0-4 and soon to be 0-5 start.
Yeah, it's been a struggle, and you consider he made the playoffs in 2015 and hasn't had a lot of success since then. And there's the record. It speaks for itself. Longest tenured head coach in the Dan Snyder ownership era. You wonder how long that patience will last.
This is Smallwood. Smallwood down at the 40-yard line, and that will probably take us to the 2-minute warning. It will. When we come back, it'll be 2nd and 9, 2-minute warning. Here at FedEx Field. 33-7, New England Patriots.
NFL on CBS is sponsored by Allstate, reminding you that football season is mayhem. And by Microsoft Surface.
Some of the faces on both sides here as we go into the final 2 minutes of play here at FedEx Field. Smallwood finds running room on the outside and makes a concerted effort to stay in bounds. So with New England chalking up a win here, 5-0 and 3-0 in the division. Buffalo a winner today, right behind them at 4-1. The Jets losing, Miami on a bye. Meanwhile, Washington bringing up the rear in the NFC East at 0-5. Once we wind down here, there's bonus coverage in store for you. The Ravens and the Steelers here on CBS. Smallwood tries the left side and gets knocked down at about the 45-yard line by Jason McCourty. And now Baltimore, Pittsburgh. 23-23. Looks like they might be headed for overtime with 10 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter.
Well, you mentioned the fact that the New England's going to stay undefeated coming into today. New England, Kansas City were the only two undefeated. Buffalo with one loss, which remained the same after their win today. And then there were eight teams in the AFC 2-2 coming into today. And a lot of teams fighting for those spots moving forward. And two of them, as you just mentioned, Baltimore and Pittsburgh.
Hope for almost everybody. This is Smallwood in what is likely the last play of this game.
Well, the Patriots responded the way you thought they would. They came out and they played solid defense, holding the Skins to just over 200 yards, and Tom Brady bounced back.
33-7, New England a winner. Up next, State Farm postgame show for Trent and Melanie and all of us. Greg Gumbel saying so long from Landover, Maryland. JB, to you in New York.
All right, Greg, thank you so much.